Welcome to the Fiscal Fortress. Michelle.meiming, a distinguished lawyer, and Eric.chung, a veteran hedge fund manager, deliver insightful commentary on finance and the law and actionable advice. The Fiscal Fortress, where wealth meets wisdom.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 2 of the Fiscal Fortress. We're so glad that you've come back and are watching our second episode. Michelle, it's so good to see you. How was your weekend?
It was good. We celebrated Kyle's birthday over the weekend, saw a lot of friends and family, and ready for another week at the office today.
That's great. Yeah, I had a really great weekend as well. As you know, I live in Piedmont, and the city puts on this really nice harvest festival where there's music and food trucks, and everybody hangs out at Piedmont Park. So it's this just a really nice excuse to just take the whole family, get some sun, and just relax. So that was really amazing. So on today's episode, we're going to be talking about two topics. The first is Tesla, a company that is pretty controversial and has a fairly controversial CEO. And we're going to be talking about wills. This is a really good topic because last week we were talking about trusts, and I think this is a companion episode to that. And I think a lot of people, me included, are actually not crystal clear on the difference between a will and a trust. So we'll get to that, but I think it's a super interesting topic.
Tell us about Tesla first, Eric. What are your thoughts on whether or not we should put our money in? I have a Tesla that I drive and I love it, but whether or not to invest in the stock is a different thought process.
Yeah, this is a super controversial topic, even amongst professional investors. I guess I could start with the pros, and I'll give you the reasons you might not want to invest, but I guess I don't want to hide the ball. I would say, first off, that if you're a super long-term investor, I could see an argument for, investing in Tesla, but I do think that there are some reasons to be cautious. So let me just start first with the things that I like about the company. Like you said, Michelle, they make amazing products. I also own a Tesla, and we drive a Model Y. It's our second Tesla. The car is amazing, especially the full self-driving. The company also was first in this space. They pretty much single-handedly popularized electric vehicles and made it a cool thing. And the company is profitable. So from a fundamental perspective, it's actually, a nice investment because there are very few car companies, electric car companies that are profitable.
What are your concerns, though, Eric, about the company?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the main concern is that although Tesla has been a booming company, the revenues are currently declining. So they're selling fewer cars. Related to that, the jury's out on whether the Cybertruck is a success and whether the car brand is as cool as it was, say, 4 or 5 years ago. A second thing that I think a lot of people are concerned about is Elon's foray into politics. He's publicly announced support for Trump, and Trump has said that if he's elected, that Elon Musk may become like the government efficiency czar, or some people speculate maybe will take, some sort of office in a new administration. The reality is that he is hitching his wagon to Trump, and if Trump doesn't win, I think it's a valid question whether this will really hurt Elon and will hurt Tesla. The other thing that I think is really interesting, and some people say it's an opportunity, but it's also a big risk. Currently, the company is a car company. It also sells batteries and solar panels for homes and industrial purposes. But Elon is trying to rebrand the company to become have a broader vision. So they want to have autonomous robots. They also want to become a robo-taxi company. And they want to do a lot of things to go beyond just selling cars. The problem is that a lot of this stuff is just on the drawing board. I know that Tesla and Elon would say they're way ahead, and they've got things cooking that are about to be released. But to take robotaxis as an example, a couple of months they were receiving a lot of heat for the fact that they delayed the rollout of the robotaxi program. And there's a lot of speculation that the upcoming announcement or unveiling, which is scheduled to happen in October, may not happen because, maybe Tesla's not ready. And I think the other concern is even if they are ready, based on a lot of people's research, they haven't applied for any licenses for robotaxis. To wrap it up, I think the company does have a lot of potential. If you're a long-term believer, I could see, somebody putting their money into this company, but short term, I'd be cautious.
It's great, Eric, that you're using the full self-driving technology in the Tesla. I have read about some dangerous incidents, but are those pretty just isolated? Are you, how did you get comfortable with that feature?
Probably by the numbers, most Tesla owners actually don't use it. I got comfortable with it because I'm trying to use it the way that it's intended. I mean, the way that it's intended is that it's basically a very, very advanced form of cruise control. It obviously does a lot more, right? Cruise control is only helping you with maintaining speed. This thing speeds up, it slows down, it knows where all the cars are, it changes lanes. But conceptually, like I view it as just a driver aid. But what I don't view it as yet is something that I could use without paying attention. And I think that's the key thing. It's something where if you're ready to take control of a vehicle, if it does something unpredictable, then I think you'll feel a lot more comfortable.
Maybe I will get more comfortable with that thought too if I have that feature, but my car doesn't have it at this point.
Yeah, you should check it out. I think it's worth at least experimenting with. At this time, we should probably switch to our second topic, and that's wills. And this is something that I have been thinking a lot about since the first episode. I myself have a trust, but I understand that if you just had a will, which I think is the traditional way of passing on your wealth, that could be problematic. But Michelle, could you educate us a little bit more on what could go wrong?
I'd be happy to. A lot of my clients, when they come in, they come and ask for a will, but the problem with a will that is not always obvious is that the will is actually a public document. According to the laws that are, in California, the will needs to be, when a person passes, that needs to be lodged into court, which means that it is a public process. And of course, once you enter that process, if the assets are going to be distributed according to the will, it will need to be in front of a probate judge. And in Santa Clara County, which is where I'm at, there's 2 full-time judges and there's almost 2 million residents. So you can imagine the backlog and the weight that will take. In addition, it's also very costly to go through probate. So probate is 2%. It's the 2% is off of all gross assets, and that's in excess of $1 million. So the first million is on a sliding scale that starts off at 4%, but anything over to $1 million goes down to 2% and onwards. So for instance, if a family had $3 million, they would expect quite a bit on fees. So it would be 2% of legal fees and also 2% of the administrator's fees, which would mean that it's about almost over $100,000 in fees. So that is the downside to having a will. But if you see a lawyer and you create an estate plan and you have a trust, the trust also will include a pour over will. And so that is a different kind of will than a testamentary will. And the primary document, when you see a lawyer for an estate plan that includes a trust, is that the trust is going to avoid probate. And then the will is just a small pour over will that goes hand in hand with the trust. And the goals that you can accomplish with the trust are significant. So for instance, number 1, we can avoid probate. Number 2, we can have some language around asset protection, and we can also minimize taxes.
Michelle, really, really good information. So obviously, it's expensive to have a will for probably a lot of reasons that people didn't realize, and it takes a lot longer. But can you remind me what is the cost of a trust, and is it a pretty clearly like a positive return on investment to go that path?
Sure, it is. It is definitely there's a lot of value in creating a trust, and so in terms of the comparison between costs, if you go and just have a will, it might be less expensive in the in the present, but in the future it will cost a lot more because it would have to enter probate. On the other hand, if you have a trust, then there's different goals that one can accomplish with their lawyer on the trust. So if it's just to avoid probate, that would be less expensive. But if there was additional goals of asset protection and tax minimization, it would cost a little more. But you could expect about $4,000 to $5,000 on legal fees to create a trust and an estate plan, which is a fraction of what it would cost if there was no trust, which would be over $100,000 for a $3 million estate.
And just out of curiosity, you mentioned that essentially there's a shortage of judges, like in your county. Like typically, I mean, clearly probate is a lengthy process, but how long are we talking about? Is it days and weeks, or is it months or years?
It's the latter. It's months and years. It depends on the issue that needs to go in front of the court. And so even a straightforward one will easily take about 9 months to a year. So it is something, and it's also unpredictable. So we're gonna, if we don't do a trust and actually decide for ourselves how assets will be given to our loved ones, then there will be a judge who doesn't know our family making those decisions for us. So there's definitely an element of unpredictability as well by going through probate.
Thanks very much, Michelle. That was super informative. I'm really looking forward to learning more about trust and estates and other legal issues in future episodes. And that's about all the time that we have for this episode. Looking forward to seeing everybody for episode 3, which will be dropping in 2 weeks' time. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in.